Let's watch a Piers Morgan panel that quickly exploded with liberal commentator David Pakman along with Brian Tyler Cohen shutting down Piers Morgan, Dave Rubin, and the MAGA lies in real time. So I've lined a few of these clips up for us and we'll jump in where's needed with the additional context.
That ad with Kamala, I would have loved Kamala to respond to it. All she had to say was at the time that she said that, it was Trump administration Bureau of Prisons policy that that's what's available to trans inmates when determined medically necessary. She would follow the law. You haven't said that. And then number 3, Piers, on who cares about the issue, I checked Gallup survey, trans issues at the very bottom. The reality is almost no one's trans. Almost no trans people are in competitive sports. And people do not care about the issue. However, there's a lot of money made grifting about trans this and trans that, even from people on this panel. So I get why they keep bringing it up.
It really does just boil down to doing transphobia for the grift, bigotry for bucks or whatever you want to call it. If you walk up to a random person on the street, this is a thought experiment you could try yourself right now. Walk up to a random person and ask, hey, what is the biggest problem in America? Like, what is plaguing American society more than anything else? You're going to have to go for days, for a while, before you find someone who says, it's transing the kids, or trans women in women's sports is what's ruining America, because there's so few trans people. Odds are you could ask 10 people and a sizable amount of them have never met a trans person, right? There's even fewer trans athletes. There's even fewer trans athletes who compete at a level in which this kind of rage or outcry could happen. This is something that affects such a small portion of the population that it's not actually this tabletop issue that Republicans are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on to make it seem like. And this is to not even mention the true point here, which is that after transitioning, after following Olympic guidelines, the advantages are minimized to a level naturally seen in sport. Again, you're not going to fully rid of any advantage, but natural advantage is regular in sports, right? It's like tall people have a natural advantage over short people in basketball. We're not going to make height limit requirements for basketball, right? Like there is natural advantage in sports. After transitioning, after following the Olympic guidelines with testosterone levels, these things, they're minimized. And actually, they have added in disadvantages this is why you see a lot of their performance times drops, which is like the stigmatization, right? The social pushback they receive that makes it harder for them to perform at a level. But none of this matters because people are just creating this monster that doesn't exist because it riles up the base. So a bunch of people can get angry about trans athletes they never met who affect all of 13 Americans.
Biden afforded him every ounce of respect that he couldn't be bothered to show, and that he couldn't be bothered to show Joe Biden or any Democrat over the last 4 years, while he lied about some big lie, and all of these right-wing mouthpieces perpetuated this lie with zero evidence, and then they all just claimed that because Donald Trump was too small to admit that he lost, they all claimed that there must be some fraud, which magically disappeared as soon as 2024 rolled around.
All right,
so. There was mass cheating that the Democrats figured out how to do when they didn't control government. But then when Democrats do control government, we just forgot to cheat this time around? The fact is that there is no acknowledgement from the right that for the last 4 years, these Republican officials that are listening to Donald Trump, these Republican mouthpieces like the ones on this panel, all lied because it served their political interests, but now they won't acknowledge that he was lying once it doesn't serve their political interests.
All right.
This is the only answer, and it's something as true Americans we cannot let MAGA just try to move past or forget about. For the last 4 years, they have not stopped crying and whining. MAGA said that Democrats, without even being in power, with a Republican president and Republican DOJ, Democrats somehow cheated the 2020 election and implemented, what's the talking point, like 20 million fake votes, even though on all the ballots Joe Biden won, a lot of the down ballot races Republicans won. So they also forgot to cheat the Senate or the House and left themselves unable to pass their trademark bills that they wanted to, that they campaigned on, like Build Back Better or the Green New Deal. But they still definitely cheated. They ballot stuffed and they did all this stuff while not even being in power. But in 2024, when they had power, a Democratic president, Democratic DOJ, Biden, the most powerful man in the world pretty much, they just did a little oopsies and they forgot to cheat. Kamala got 72 million votes. Biden won with 81 million votes in 2020, that is. So you're saying that they couldn't have just, made up 10 million fake votes, gave them to Kamala, and then boom, that's the victory? Is that what we're saying here? They just chose not to this time? It just shows like we've been saying on the left this entire 4 years, MAGA is just saying whatever is in their best political interest to escape accountability, because the second they won in 2024, not only did all talks of voter fraud go away, but it's like democracy won. Trump got a mandate. He won the popular vote by 2%. Like, it was close. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost 72 million votes to like 75 million votes. Like, oh God, right? And again, Democrats can cheat, but decided to just let Trump win by 3 million votes and to lose the House and the Senate. Like, so it just doesn't make any sense. And that's why nobody's saying this anymore, aside from like the couple random sad clowns in the comments who are still holding on to the lies, who are like still trying to push this narrative while Republicans lie at them. It reminds me of like the crypto kind of scams, right? How like these people will be like, oh, this crypto is the next big thing. So a bunch of like more ignorant people buy into the crypto and they're like, to the moon, Doge to the moon. But then all the people who sold it to them sell all of their crypto and make the profit off of these people. Like, like they're using them. But these people don't realize they're being used, so they're like holding the crypto a year later when it's lost all of its value. That's kind of how it is with the election fraud stuff now, where there's still MAGA voters who pretend that this is still realistic, even though MAGA, like elected Republicans, have given it up because now they've won. They don't need to push those lies anymore.
Dave Rubin making predictions is crazy because his predictions always go wrong. Red wave for Republicans in 2018 didn't happen. 30% black vote for Trump in 2020 didn't happen. Republicans get 54 Senate seats in 2022. I've got a list of 30 Rubin predictions. They're always wrong. So I'm going to wait and see.
I can see why you're looking for new friends, Pakman.
I had to add this part in because it speaks to quite the phenomenon on the right, where credibility isn't what's measured in reporting. It's all about loyalty. Now, confirmation bias is a problem in all facets, all sides of politics, but especially so on the right, like to a insane degree, where most people on the right, when they're looking for content, they just want content or news reporting, whatever, that's going to confirm their bias rather than get them to the truth. And things that challenge them, even if it's just from time to time, they just hate it. They call it fake news. This is why a lot of them try and say, well, mainstream media is fake news and that they lie. But when they say these things, it's always CNN and MSNBC that they mention when they do this, because those are the ones that are questioning their confirmation bias. And then this is why a lot of times you also hear these same people say, like, even Fox News is getting more left-leaning, even Fox News, because Fox News typically keeps them in a confirmation bias. But now they have like the Jessica Tarloffs. Now they will push back a little. So they're like, oh, they're becoming fake news too, right? Because again, the lies are just facts that are uncomfortable to their position. And their true problem is that they won't 100% of the time, CNN won't spend 100% of their coverage wall to wall painting Republicans as victims, but also as the heroes and the true patriots. And, Trump is the greatest president of all time. So they must be fake because they won't do those things. While, Tim Pool and Dave Rubin are obviously arbiters of the truth because they say the things that MAGA wants to hear and they never provide any pushback, which is hilarious considering the lengths in which these commentators will not only be wrong, pushing 2020 election lies that are verifiably proven false, right? Dave Rubin, for instance, pushing ballot stuffing as if it was something that actually happened. Like, he was really, really pushing that. But now we know that Rudy Giuliani admitted in court that he made all of that up, that none of that ever happened. It was all a figment of Rudy Giuliani's imagination, that he thought it was within his constitutional rights to make up. About election outcomes, right? Like they said here, like Dave Rubin's misrepresented what's going to happen in multiple elections, about literally everything. And Dave Rubin specifically is paid by Russia, yet we're supposed to take him serious. And this is the plague of right-leaning media writ large. They're either horrendously unfactual in their presentation, relying instead on conspiracy and lies, just giving opinions, never citing data, studies, anything of the matter, or they're bought and paid for by Russia, and there's literally no in between on the right. And the left failed in allowing these people to dominate social media and the new media sphere to where there isn't any channels on the left to keep up with this kind of misinformation machine, one that is reaching younger voters, especially like my generation of men, really effectively, which sucks because it leads to everyone not knowing what they're talking about.